Hi, everyone. This is Marie Wiseman, and I want to thank you for reading all of my books. You guys are some really great fans, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to try to do this correctly. The first question says, first of all, we want to thank you so much for these magnificent novels. You conquered our heart. What she left behind is a novel that leaves deep scars. Can you tell us how you decided to write this story? And what were the three essential emotions that you felt when you wrote this novel? I decided to write What She Left Behind after I read an article in the newspaper about 425 suitcases that were found in a local state asylum. I wanted to write about what it was like to find the suitcases, and I also wanted to write about what it might have been like to be sent to an asylum against your will. I think that the three emotions that I felt the most were anger at Clara's parents for sending her away, and sorrow when the doctor took away her baby, and also joy when she was reunited with her daughter. The second question, it says, we know that Coal River, which we are looking forward to read, is about miners and their families. And unfortunately, mining accidents are our sore spot too. So what was the source of inspiration for Coal River? Did you do any on-site research or talk with miners and their families? The inspiration for Coal River came to me after I found out about the Breaker Boys who used to work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, until their fingers bled. I had never heard of them before, so I wanted to tell their story because I knew that other people hadn't heard of them before too. And as far as research, I did go down to Pennsylvania and go inside a coal mine. And I also visited an old jail where they hung some miners that protested against the mining company. Um, Question number 3. There is some truth to all of your stories. So can you say that writing stories based on fact is easier, or is it more easy to write stories based on the world of imagination? Sorry. I'd have to say writing stories based on fact is harder because there's so much research involved. And if you don't get your facts straight, somebody's going to let you know about it. The fourth question is, must be so heartbreaking to write heavy emotional scenes and to feel the pain of a character for an author. So which of your novels do you think had the most heartbreaking scenes? Oh, that's a tough one. I think for The Plum Tree, the most heartbreaking scenes were always in the concentration camp. And for What She Left Behind, definitely where the doctors take Clara's baby away from her. That was awful. And in Coal River, there's a scene where a young boy gets killed in the crusher, and also there's also a scene for some where there's a funeral for some young boys that were killed in a mining accident, and that was very hard to write. Who and what inspires you when you write your novels? I'm inspired by the resiliency of the human spirit and how most of the time people that go through the most horrible things come out with the most empathy for others in the end. For my own mother lived through World War II and spent her childhood in poverty and hiding in bomb shelters. And she's always the first one to help anybody in need. And she still loves to laugh and sing. And so she's my inspiration, I'd have to say. And another question, every author has a writing journey. So what is your story? Have you imagined writing a book? And of course, you have other dreams that you want to wake up to, make come true. What are they? I used to write as a hobby when my kids were growing up, and then I decided to get serious about it when they moved away and went to college, and I had more time to devote to writing. It was many years before I finished my first novel, and when it was published, it was a dream come true. And I have to say that my dreams now are for my children and my grandchildren because I want them to grow up in a world. It sounds corny, but I want them to grow up in a loving, peaceful, safe world. That's what I want. That would be my dream. The next question is, to which character in your novels do you feel close? The lives of the characters in your novels are touching. So can we say that life experience of Ellen Marie Wiseman affected to create the characters? I'd have to say that I feel closest to Christine because she's loosely based on my mother's experiences growing up and also her family. As far as my life experiences helping me create characters, I have been through some hard times, so I think that helps me tap into those emotions that I need for my characters to feel when they're experiencing the difficulties that I put them through. Um, Reading a book is like rewriting it all for yourself. Do you want to be an author or a reader of an unforgettable novel? And what does it feel like to know that your novels are being read all over the world? I would love to say that I've written an unforgettable novel, but it's much easier to be reading one. And it's a really amazing feeling to know that my novels are being written or read all over the world, especially by my relatives in Germany. That's really pretty cool. So, which is the most difficult, to write your first sentence or the last sentence of a novel? What do you recommend for readers who may be in the beginning of their writing journey? Sorry. I actually love writing the first sentence. It's kind of fun, and I like writing the last sentence too. It's all the sentences in between that are difficult. And I think what I would tell someone that's just starting out their journey would be to just keep writing and don't give up and just keep trying to better your craft. Your stories, which were published in our country, were so impressive. So, are there any other work which Ellen Marie Wiseman read and never forgot? That's another hard one. I really liked Atonement and Angela's Ashes and Sarah's Key. I really like those books. They stuck with me. What would you like to see your work? Would you like to see your works adapted for Hollywood? Which novel would you prefer this to happen to first? Yeah, that would be a dream come true. I love movies. I think the novel that I would want to be adapted first would probably be The Plum Tree because it's based on my family stories. Um, and the last question here says, finally, do you want to visit Turkey? There are so many readers who love your stories. What would you say to us? I would say I would love to visit Turkey, and I would say that I love all my readers in Turkey, and you're some of my greatest fans, and I appreciate you all friending me on Facebook and for spreading the word about my books. I really appreciate that. And so I think that I better say goodbye before this is too long. And it was very nice to talk to you and say thank you so much for having me and for reading my books.